Hi everyone, I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. You'll need a pillow and let's start with it under your head. Join me on your mat. Knees will be bent, arms reach straight out to the side like the letter T. When you feel ready, start to just very slowly allow your knees to roll over to one side, only as far as feels good for you, so we're not looking for any pain. And then start to roll your knees over to the other side. So spend anywhere from maybe 3 to 10 seconds on each side, but see if you can keep the movement going so that this becomes a very gentle dynamic stretch on the outsides of your hips, into your low back, and all the way up your back into the back of the shoulder and even into your neck. So let's spend maybe 20 more seconds here and see if you can just gently breathe really low into your ribs, maybe sending your air into the back side of the ribs and letting them be sort of heavy towards the mat. It will help increase the release of the back muscles. When you feel even on each side, we'll meet back into the center of the mat with both feet in the center. And then let's just lift one leg up, try to grab onto it. And if you need a little assistance with that, you can also use a towel. Put the towel under the leg and you'll have one end of the towel in each hand. You can hold under your leg or over your knee. We're just going to gently bring the leg towards you until you feel a bit of a stretch on the back side of your hip, maybe the back of your leg, up into the low back. And let's add a little foot and ankle movement. So think of pulling your toes towards your shins, and then just point your toes away from your shins. Do that a couple of times, and then draw a small circle through the foot and ankle. This helps release tension through the lower leg. You can circle in one or both directions. And let's try that on the other side. So gently lifting the other leg up. Allow your leg to rest in your arms. And then when you feel ready, pulling your toes towards your shin and then pointing the toes away from the shin. And really this movement is happening at your ankle. So you might feel a stretch on the back of your heel, the bottom of the foot, the back of your lower leg, and you can turn that into those small circles if you like. Those circles can also be good for coordination and helping your brain and mind. I clearly need that. What I meant to say really is your mind and your body to connect to each other, but your brain and your mind is good too. Let's set both feet down and then gently roll onto your side. For this one, we're gonna hold the pillow in front of your chest. So we're just gonna give it a cuddle, and then you can support your head with your bottom arm. If you have another pillow, that works great too. So we wanna be able to lay all the way down here. And then really just hug that pillow into your chest. Really we want it to support your top arm. Let's stay here for a moment. I like this best with my legs are in front of me, but your legs really can be anywhere that they're comfortable. And then first just take a nice gentle breath in. Try to let those ribs gently fill up with air. And then try to breathe out every last little bit of air. Full exhale. So on your next breath in, that should help the diaphragm at the bottom of the ribs fill the ribs up with air. And what I love about that diaphragmatic breathing is it will actually help massage tension out of the low back. So your diaphragm attaches to the top of your low back. And so if we can get it to move downward as we breathe in, our low back gets a little bit of a massage and a release. Now let's add a little bit of upper body rotation. So you can breathe however feels best to you now. Just keep hugging that pillow. And then when you're ready, we'll start to rotate your chest towards the ceiling. And try to let your head be very heavy on whatever it is that you're lying on. And you can allow your hips to turn as well. And again, only going as far as feels good for you. And then let's just gently come back to where you started. So take this at your own pace. This is again just a very dynamic but gentle stretch to help release tension in your entire torso, from your shoulder all the way down into the hips. And this might be very small for you today, that's okay. So we want to remember that we should let our body be our guide, and we're not trying to force it into anything that it's not ready to do. So maybe your twist is just opening away from the floor. You don't have to even be looking at the ceiling. But if it feels okay to go further, give it a try. Let's do it just one last time. Maybe this time you can think about turning your shoulders first and your head, and try to leave your hips a little bit more facing forward. So it's almost as if the front of your hips and the back of your shoulders are stretching in opposite directions. That feels really nice. And then let's bring it back to the front. Let's do that on the other side. So if you feel comfortable, just roll over. I'm going to flip over so that you can still see me. And I've got quite a slant here, so I'll be getting a little bit of blood going into my head, but I think that's okay. So give that pillow a cuddle. Find a comfortable position, laying down on your other side. Let's start again with just a few deep breaths. So maybe see if you can send your air here into the side of your rib cage. Feel the sides expand. So you might especially be able to feel the bottom side of the ribs expanding into whatever it is that you're lying on. Maybe that's your bed, your couch, the floor. Maybe you're on a sandy beach. And maybe just letting go of any tension that you don't really need anymore. Or just allow it to soften a little bit. And then when you feel ready, just really give that pillow a gentle hug. Now, if you don't have a pillow, it's okay to hold on to maybe a towel, really anything that will give your arms some support. And then we start to gently turn the chest towards the ceiling. Really just in whatever way works for your body at this moment in time. And then slowly come back to where you started. So it is okay to turn the hips towards the ceiling. That will just be kind of turning the whole torso. It will be a little bit more of a stretch through the shoulder and the chest. And then maybe if your body starts to feel open to it, we start to move the shoulders first, let the head go with you. So you're looking in the direction that you want to turn. And try to leave your hips a little bit more forward. And you'll just notice you get a stretch and a release in different areas of your spine. So there's really no wrong way to do this. It will just change the areas of your back that get some release. So feel free to explore. Let's do that maybe one more time. See if you can keep the front of your hips facing forward a bit more. Take it slowly. Think of pulling the pillow backwards if you can to get a little more of a chest stretch. And then slowly come back to where you started. I have just one more stretch for you today. Let's help yourself come up by using your arms. So we'll sit up from your side. And then let's meet on hands and knees. Now you could use your pillow here under your wrists for a little cushion on the wrists, or under your knees if that's better for you. So if it's under your wrists, it feels best if your fingertips are lower than your palms. And that means that the crease of the wrist is much less. So if we had the heel of the hand lower than the fingertips, that puts a lot of stretch and a lot of pressure on your wrist. So try fingertips lower than that wrist crease. I'm going to put the pillow under my knees today because that will also help level out my position a little bit more. We want to find hands approximately under shoulders and knees approximately under hips. And when you feel ready, just gently send your hips back towards your heels. allowing all the muscles on the back of your torso to stretch out. Let's stay here. See if you can take a nice deep breath into the back side of the ribs. And then as you breathe out, again, try to breathe out all your air. Now, it really doesn't matter how far back you go, but if your knees are feeling like this is a bit too much, you can also place a pillow in between the back of your thigh and the back of your feet. And that will give your knees just a little bit less aggressive stretch. Now when you feel ready, let's start to shift your hips forward a little bit. So think of almost pulling with your hands, pushing your shins and knees down into whatever surface you're on. And then allow your hips to stretch back again. Maybe thinking of your armpits and your hips reaching in opposite directions so that we create a little more space between the sides of those bones. And when you're ready, let's try that again, pushing your knees and shins into the mat, pulling with the arms, and then just slowly stretching back. Just taking this at your own pace. Let's do it one last time. And then let's finish. Our last stretch is called cat-cow. We'll meet with hands approximately under shoulders and knees approximately under hips. And you might explore, it might feel better to open your knees a little wider or to keep them a little narrower under the hips. Same with the arms. The arms could be a little wider if that feels better for you. And then when you feel ready, we'll move into an angry cat pose. I'm going to move one bone at a time today, starting from my tailbone. So I'll think of pointing the tailbone down to the floor, allowing the back side of my body to really round, just like an angry cat. And then try to let your head drop, so it's like you're looking at your knees. Then let's try the cow. So we do the opposite. Think of the tailbone reaching backwards and almost up towards the ceiling or the sky. Opening your chest, opening the heart, shoulders back, stretching the front of the throat, and lifting the eyes. Let's try that again. And I just want to invite you to only move in a place that feels good for your body. So we don't need to force anything that your body's not ready for. We're really just looking for a place that feels like it's opening up any tension, allowing the breath of our body to move into different areas that maybe felt a little bit restricted or blocked. Let's do that maybe a couple more times. But again, just move at your own pace. If you feel like you want to stay in one position for a little bit, that's a great option as well. Let's meet in our angry cat pose. So the next time the back of your body is really round, let's stay there. Try to allow the very top of your head to point straight down at the floor so that the back of your neck feels really long. And then very gently just try to turn your head one way so it's like you're looking at one elbow. And again, not forcing it to a place that feels painful. And then turn your head to look at the other elbow. And see if you can feel a little bit more space between your earlobe, the top of the shoulder. And you're keeping a little space between your chin and your chest. When you're even on both sides, let's sit back one last time towards your feet. You might walk your hands even further out, stretching under the armpits more. Or if that feels like a little too much for your neck, try resting your head on your hands. Just bend your elbows and rest your head on your hands. Let's stay here for 3 deep breaths. And not using a lot of effort, but just focusing your air a little bit deeper than you usually do. So that might be towards the bottom of your chest, maybe the bottom of the ribs, maybe all the way down into your belly or even into your hips. And then just slowly breathe all of that air out. And so we really don't need to force that breath. When we use too much force and our body's not ready for it, we'll create more tension in our muscles. So just think of listening to your body. It should feel good. Let's take one last breath in. Now feel free to stay here if that feels good for you. And when you're ready, we'll just make our way back up to sitting. I know my back feels much better. I'm so glad you joined me today, and have a good one.